Well, good morning, everybody. Our first map today looks back over the last 3 days at total snowfall. And the main feature last weekend was this deep low that came right along the coast of California, and it delivered just some incredibly heavy snowfall into parts of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Some places here picked up over 6 feet of snow. And you probably saw over the weekend a lot of the news reports or on social media some of the snow that got down here pretty far south into Southern California. Many people may be experiencing snow for the first time down there, although I'm sure they've seen it in the mountains. To actually experience it is another thing. Well, as that low continued to die farther to the south, it did eject last night right here, and it went across parts of the Central Plains where it produced a lot of severe weather. We're still tracking that low this morning. So just to show you the last 72 hours of total precipitation, so this would be, of course, the liquid equivalent, we can see that the moisture that did come into California here in some places easily topped 3 to 6 inches of total amount of liquid. Now what you've got right in through here, all of this has come from the storms that just ripped through last night, including a lot of severe weather into parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And just to take a look at those storm reports, this is from the SPC this morning. These numbers are going to continue to climb throughout the day. We're currently at 9 reported tornadoes, but 172 total reports of storms. And where they currently sit, just take a look here. This is the kind of the current position of that low. But before I go and show you the radar from this, I just want to show you that last night, excuse me, if you just take a look right here coming out of New Mexico into Texas as these storms were erupting along the dry line here, we did have another very large dust storm that ripped through parts of Texas. And I believe this is the 6th large dust storm I've counted since the beginning of this new year. Now, that particular area has been dry over the last 30 days, but a couple of changes are going to be coming to this map. Some of the drier areas in through here we'll likely see later this week quite a bit of potentially some snow, and also we're going to really increase the chances for snow into parts of New England. Other than that, we could see improved conditions throughout the western United States as well, as another low kind of comes barreling in today into parts of Oregon. That's going to deliver some snow here into, again, the Pacific Northwest. But I just want to show you the current position of the low we've been watching. It has moved through Illinois. Very strong winds with this morning. And as this low, again, you can see the whole evolution of the storm system here. Last night, again, producing a lot of damage in through parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Here it is this morning. It's going to continue to press itself on off to the east. So real quick, before we come back to the system that's the next one here in the west, I do want to show you that today's severe weather risk is going to primarily be later this morning into Indiana and eventually into Ohio. Storm Prediction Center's given this about a 5% chance of having a tornado develop within 25 miles of any given point here, but they're going to keep clipping off the backside of this pretty quickly as the storm system moves through. And don't forget, there is a northern side to this where we do have the risk of ice, and that's why there's a winter storm warning out for parts of Wisconsin with winter weather advisories surrounding it. Strong winds continue. Red flag warnings back into parts of New Mexico and Texas, winter weather advisories, and a winter storm warning out for New England as well. But the next system's already loaded up and going into Oregon, and we're going to watch this one over the next 3 days just slowly slide through the Great Basin before coming out later this week in the Southern Plains. And we do have blizzard warnings out for the Sierra Nevada mountains right now, surrounded by winter storm warnings across a large area in the west. So from here, I just want to show you that system because it was pretty amazing to watch yesterday on Sunday as it, again, curled up here. This is now infrared imagery here as it's going this morning toward Oregon. Very slow-moving system. So now we've got all that set up. Let's go right into the high-res models. This would be the NAM, and we're going to pick up at 9 o'clock this morning. So ice on the northern side of this. There's the potential for some stronger storms cutting through Indiana. And this low moves, flipping that over to snow in the UP in northern Wisconsin by this afternoon. And then it spreads that snow with some potential ice right in through this area into New England. Heavier rains to the south, snow to the north here. So that system clears through, and what we're watching again is all the attention is going to go to the west. So just go back here. This is later on this afternoon. You can see the system coming into the west. This is going to be a big snowmaker for the west as well. And that low is still sitting there, sliding to the south through California and Nevada. And by the time we get out here to midday Wednesday, it's still, it's going to take 3 days just to do this. And during that time period, we're going to add up quite a bit of snow for the west. So we need to let the European model pick up where the NAM left off. So let's get you out there to right about this point. So keep your eye on this next system. There's a bit of light snow coming through the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin on the southern edge of this high pressure cell, but the next large system is going to be here. This is midday Wednesday. Getting into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, snow into Arizona, New Mexico, and then this low ejects by next Thursday, and it will have enough cold air on the northern side of it to produce a lot of snow, but this will likely be another severe weather event for parts of the Mid-South, the Red River Valley of the South, and getting down here into the lower Mississippi River Valley on Thursday night into the overnight hours, and then into Friday morning, likely here in the southeast. But as you notice here, see the blue on the northern side of this. This could produce some very heavy rain through the Ohio Valley, but a quick change over to snow on the northern side of it. Now, this is just the current operational run of the European model, so we'll see this low move around throughout this week. It's still, 5 days out from when it comes through. But it does appear that as this low moves into New England, it could bring snow pretty far to the south, hitting possibly New York, Boston, some big cities here, which have missed out a lot on the snow so far this year. Well, that's just the next big system coming through. And we'll likely continue to see deep troughs over the west, probably to the 7th or the 8th. So you see the next one coming in here. This would be this Sunday and going forward. But I believe there's a pretty substantial pattern change happening after that first full week of March that we do need to be talking about now. First, though, let's get some maps down to kind of talk about some of the numbers here. Thursday into Friday, this is where the Storm Prediction Center's got the main risk area out for in terms of severe weather. We're going to watch this one very carefully all week long. If we go from here over to snow in the west, there are going to be places in the Sierra Nevada that could pick up anywhere between 40 and 100 inches of snow. There's more snow in the upper Colorado Basin, good snow in the northern Rockies, and along the Cascades. This is exactly what we want to see this time of year. And in the report, I show you the newest data on snow water equivalent in the west. If we slide to the Midwest, now understand that this right now is where the current European model is putting the heaviest snow band, okay, with this next system late this week. This will move. Okay, this will change in its position throughout the week. I'm just showing you the latest data right now. And into New England, you can see that there's going to be the potential for some very heavy snow here as well. What you notice is that some of that snow right now is creeping down into maybe New York City and over to Boston. And this is an area that's really not seen much snow so far this year. This is also going to hit a big part of Pennsylvania. If we just take a look at those deficits, this map, again, the numbers and the color bars show you who's had a lot of snow this year and who's not. And so you can see where that snow's coming through this area. These are areas that have not seen much so far this year. To give maybe a better perspective on that snow, I do want to show you, this is the 10-day probability of getting at least 6 inches of snow. So just take note that the ensemble's delivering the snow a bit farther to the north, but still keeps it here in the interior of New England. And this map isn't really going to be much use when you're out in the west, because the probability 6 inches is nothing when we think there could be 40 to 100 inches in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Okay, total precip on this. We're really going to watch this to see who gets a lot of precip versus who misses out. That's 10 days. I noticed this hole in the Canadian Prairie, the Red River Valley of the North. Very limited chances throughout the western high plains. And down here where the subtropical ridge still sits, we're drier along the Gulf Coast into Florida. But remember, and we talk about this in today's report, there are underlying soil moisture issues here that this rain is going to come through and continue to correct. Although any early season field work in the lower Mississippi Valley is going to have to wait, because not only do we have this wet weather coming through, but there's some cold weather that's going to follow it. One more thing before the temperature forecast. This is the latest update on the probability of getting at least an inch of liquid. This would be snow, melt that down, and then include the rain. Very high probabilities over the next 10 days over the areas we just discussed. Now, the temperature pattern this week is going to hold out very much like what it was in the month of February. Here's today's high temperatures compared to normal. We go into Tuesday and into Wednesday, so very warm, very mild for this time of year in this section of the country. But then as we get into Thursday and Friday, shot at cold air coming behind the system. Remember, there's that system that rolls through here on Friday, but you notice we're going to rebound by Sunday, so it's already starting to build. But we did see better evidence over the weekend of a blocking pattern setting up in the North Pacific. That's going to diminish the effect of the subtropical ridge that's been over the southeast, and you're going to see that here starting after March 7th. So what are we noticing? Here's the block setting up Bering Sea to north of Hawaii. That's going to allow this colder air to move across the country. And instead of seeing deep troughs here, they've now moved to the east. So what that does to the temperature pattern is if we look at this 5-day sliding window of temperature anomalies, we now have better evidence that the longer range forecasts we've been seeing from the European model are likely going to manifest themselves. I was skeptical of it last week, but now we're beginning to see that as we press out here into the second week of the month of March, better chances of moving that colder air to the east, really displacing what we'd seen for much of the month of February. That's an important pattern change. And again, we got some hints of it last week, but now we got better evidence. So here's the last couple things. The CPC updated their new week 3, week 4 forecast. You're seeing it here. We talk about it in the report. It's much better in alignment with the March 5th to April 5th outlook from the ECMWF. What we'll talk about in tonight's report, though, is how long does this last? We're really capturing the beginning of this cold air, which is going to be the middle of this month of March, but does it last into early April is going to be a big question we need to be discussing. And finally, the latest long-range 15-day forecast for South America looks just like it did last week. We're still drier and hotter in Argentina, continuing to impact the drought situation there, but very wet in central Brazil and Paraguay. And this has been an ongoing story for about 45 days. The models did improve the rainfall in Mato Grosso somewhat with the weekend trends, but this will be good for the safrinha crop that's going in here. Okay, that's what we're going to be watching this week. I'll talk to you again tonight for those of you who get the in-depth report. Have a good one. Thanks.